Welcome back, everybody. Florida Millennial here, and we're going to do a live stream tonight. I was going to do another update video, but I thought to myself, you know what? I just feel like going live. I haven't gone live in a while. When I did the convention, it was, first of all, it was very painful. Second of all, I was getting copyright strikes left, right, and center because, they play music at the convention. And of course, even if it's for a few seconds, they get me with it. So, I'm sure to let me check this gain on my microphone, make sure it's okay. Okay, that's perfect. So I don't want to be streaming any live events for the time being, at least until I figure out a workaround or to make sure I'm doing everything correctly and within the community guidelines of YouTube. Speaking of community guidelines, that is going to be the major topic of tonight's stream. I want to talk about Mark Zuckerberg and the letter that I just read on X, and basically he admits to censorship. He admits to collusion, basically, with the United States government during COVID and during the lockdowns to censor information online. This is not good, folks. This is really, really not good. So, and it just shows you everything we kind of knew already. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about the betting odds for the election. I want to talk about polling because that's what this channel really is. I want to really focus in on the polling. And I want to make an effort too. I'm going to take these off. It is really bright right now. I want to make an effort too, as well, to do a recording or do a show at least every night. Or almost every night, because we're getting to the point now where we're really at gut check time. We're coming down to the wire here, and people want this information, and I will give it to them. But I'm going to give it to them straight. There's a lot of channels out there who are not giving it to you straight. They are lying to you. They are trying to make you believe things are better than they are. And there may be some out there, a couple, but not many, that are trying to make you believe that things are worse than they are. But there aren't as many of those. It's more people who are trying to make you believe that there's no way that their candidate can lose. And I don't want this channel to be about that. I want this channel to be about talking about the reality. And sometimes the reality, you don't like it. Sometimes the reality, we may not be able to handle it or stomach it, but we need to be able to kind of admit to ourselves when things are going well and admit to ourselves when things are not going so well. So, and we will do both here, and we will, well, we won't do both, but we'll tell it to you straight here, and I'll give you the facts as they are. And people complain. They say, why is he using Nate Silver? Why is he using so and so? Why is he using this poll? Nobody likes that poll. It's a bad poll. I'm trying to get the data for you, and if it's from a pollster you don't like, it's from a pollster you don't like. I'm going to include pollsters who are probably friendly to Trump, and I'm going to include pollsters who are not as friendly to Trump. And that's just the way it is. I don't want to be here, with every poll showing Trump winning when maybe he isn't. So that's that. So let's get to the first story, and that is the Zuckerberg letter, the Meta letter. Okay, so let's see. Now, hold on. I thought I had the screen shared here. Share screen. Just see if it's the way how I want it to be. And there we have Zuckerberg's eyes staring at us from below. Okay, so here is the letter. Just want to make sure you can see it. It's probably as good as you're going to be able to see it, right? Okay, so this is from Meta, but more specifically from Mark Zuckerberg to Jim Jordan, the chairman, the committee on the Judiciary Committee chairman, Jim Jordan. And it reads, Chairman Jordan, I appreciate the committee's interest in content moderation on online platforms. As you are aware, Meta has produced thousands of documents as part of your investigation and made a dozen employees available for transcribed interviews. Further to our cooperation with your investigation, I welcome the opportunity to share what I've taken away from this process. There's a lot of talk right now around how the US government interacts with companies like Meta, and I want to be clear about our position. Our platforms are for everyone. We're about promoting speech and helping people connect in a safe and secure way. As part of this, we regularly hear from governments around the world and others with various concerns around public discourse and public safety. In 2021, this is where things get a little bit interesting. In 2021, our senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. Okay, so there is the first clue that what's going on here is not good. It's not good. And the fact I am not really sure what has possessed him to do so, because this is very kind of random behavior. If you ask me. It's not really happen the way it has. So I'm just a little bit curious about it, to be honest. But it continues. So once again, I'm going to read that line for you because that is the most important line. In 2021, senior officials from the Biden administration, including the White House, repeatedly pressured our teams for months to censor certain COVID-19 content, including humor and satire, and expressed a lot of frustration with our teams when we didn't agree. So, unquote. The government, the federal government, the Biden administration, more specifically, whose vice president is running for the presidency of the United States right now, was telling the government, or telling Meta, Facebook, that they were unhappy with what was on the social network. This is government censorship. There's no other way to see this. We hear all the time how, well, Facebook has a right to moderate, to censor what it wants. They are their own company, and they have the right, just like any other company does, to moderate their content. And I mean, that is partially true, but they have more of an argument if they're talking about a private company doing it, as opposed to what we have here, which is far, far different. Here we have the government coming in and saying, we want you to censor online information. So I don't need to tell you that this is horrific. The letter continues. Ultimately, it was our decision whether or not to take content down, and we own our decisions, including COVID-19 related changes we made to our enforcement in the wake of this pressure. I believe the government pressure was wrong, and I regret that we were not more outspoken about it. I also think we made some choices that, with the benefit of hindsight and new information, we wouldn't make today. Like I said to our teams at the time, I feel strongly that we should not compromise our content standards due to pressure from any administration in either direction. And we're ready to push back if something like this happens again. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. This is where it gets even better. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family. We sent that story to fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. Well, thank you, Zuckerberg, for confirming this 4 years later. I don't think Biden really much cares anymore. Rather, Zuckerberg comes out and admits what he's admitting right now because he's already been president for 4 years. But what makes this even worse, and you know this, and I know that you believe this too. What makes this worse is not that he's admitting it now. But what makes it worse is that people were called conspiracy theorists, they were called kooks, and they were censored online as well due to them saying that this was not Russian disinformation. And are there going to be any punishments in the media for the people who did say it was Russian disinformation? Not only did they go along with the line Biden was pushing about it being disinformation, not only did they go along with it, they blamed everybody who dared to say that it wasn't. What about all the people on MSNBC who, for many, many months, weeks and months, were mocking and attacking people who claimed that it was not Russian disinformation, that it was not phony, that it was not made up, that it was real? I want to read this to you again because it is really, really you know what? I'm not even gonna say it's shocking because it's not that shocking, actually. It's not shocking. It doesn't shock me. It shouldn't shock you. But the fact that it's out in the open now, I mean, that is maybe a little bit shocking. I'm gonna read it again. This is the last, well, in the second, I guess there's more. Yeah, the second to last paragraph. In a separate situation, the FBI warned us about a potential Russian disinformation operation about the Biden family and Burisma in the lead up to the 2020 election. That fall, when we saw a New York Post story reporting on corruption allegations involving then Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's family, we sent that fact checkers for review and temporarily demoted it while waiting for a reply. It's since been made clear that the reporting was not Russian disinformation. And in retrospect, we shouldn't have demoted the story. We've changed our policies and processes to make sure this doesn't happen again. For instance, we no longer temporarily demote things in the US while waiting for fact checkers. They were not waiting for fact checkers. That is not at all what was going on here. They were not waiting for anybody. We know what was happening there. They were waiting for the election to be over. They weren't waiting for further information. They were waiting for the election to be over. They were waiting for a Biden victory. So now they're saying we're not going to wait now. If something comes out that CNN and legacy media are trying to cover up and call fake, we're not going to take it down. And we're not going to listen to them when they say whatever they want to say about it. So this confirms things that we already knew, first of all. And as I've just mentioned, I don't know, I really do not know the reason for it being a big deal now because I mean, we've gone a long time without it, without anyone saying anything else about it. We've gone a long time. I mean, there's really no reason for Facebook to come or for Zuckerberg to come out and talk about this now, but he is. There's one more paragraph. Let me see if I can share this one instead. Okay, there we go. Apart from content moderation, I want to address the contributions I made during the last presidential cycle to support electoral infrastructure. The idea here was to make sure local election jurisdictions across the country had the resources they needed to help people vote safely during a global pandemic. Really? I made these contributions through the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. I believe that's her wife, his wife, I mean, right? I believe. They were designed to be nonpartisan, spread across urban, rural, and suburban communities. Still, despite the analysis I've been showing otherwise, I know that some people believe this work benefited one party over the other. Yeah, you don't say, Mark, or to even appear to be playing a role. So I don't plan on making a similar contribution this cycle. Respectfully, Mark Zuckerberg, founder, chairman, CEO, Meta Platforms Inc. Okay, so we know now that I read that last paragraph, I now have a better idea why he's releasing this now. He is releasing this now because I am almost, almost sure that Zuckerberg, or excuse me, um, Biden and Obama and Kamala are pressuring Zuckerberg, saying, "Come on, are you going to do what you did last time? Are you going to help us out here? Are you going to tip the scale in our favor one more time because we really need you here?" And believe me, word has gone out to all the social media platforms, probably not to X because they know there's going to be nothing there for them. But they are definitely going to Meta and Facebook, which includes Instagram. They're going to TikTok. They're going to all of them. And you know why they're going to all of them? Because that is the way they are going to get the help that they need. There's only one way they're going to do it. And they have clearly, I would say, probably in the past week or thereabouts, at some point in the last little while, they have gone to Zuckerberg and they have said, "We need your help again." And I'm not going to use any specific terms about what they need help doing. It is clear that they want to influence this election just like they influenced the last election. And Mark Zuckerberg has not only told them no, but he has told them no very quite publicly here. He said, "No, that's not gonna happen." So this is very big news. Now, he may say this in public just to calm fears and then do it anyway. But something tells me no, because what was it, 3, 4 weeks ago, we were hearing Zuckerberg complimenting President Trump after the attempt on his life. So So that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing the truth finally come out. The truth always comes out, but sometimes it comes out later on. The problem is the truth came out, but the truth came out 4 years later. Now, the benefit to it coming out now is that yes, it's true. Um, at least this cycle, we won't have to worry about election interference like we saw before. But I mean, this is very, very big news, and it just shows you the corruption runs really, really, really deep. All right. Let's go and check out the polling market odds, shall we? 50 for Trump, 49 for Harris. This has not changed at all. Although I will say I did not do a show over the weekend. I took the weekend off. I did not do a recording or a show. Tonight I'm planning on doing the live stream and a recording because the people want it, and it's election time. You're just going to get it all. I'm going to work overtime for everybody. 50-49. It did flip. So Harris was up over the weekend. I believe she was up 50-49, and then now it's flipped back. And let's check out these swing states here. They're giving Trump a 51% chance in Pennsylvania. They're giving Trump a 55% chance in Arizona and a 54% chance in Nevada. So there's that. These are where the odds have been. This was around the time the debate was. Like, what was the debate? The 27th. Trump kind of shot up after that, and then after the attempt on his life, the peak was 72% for Trump, and now we're back at basically a toss up now. A toss up. Let's go to the silver, excuse me, the silver bulletin, because this is where I happen to believe, and I might have to defend myself a little bit here. I happen to believe this is probably the best polling data we're going to find. And I know people freak out whenever I use Nate Silver. I know they do. And I'm sorry, but Nate Silver is a good pollster. I hate to admit it, but he is. And they go, yeah, well, Nate Silver got 2016 wrong. It's like, yeah, everyone got 2016 wrong. Nate Silver had Trump with what did he have him? 33% chance of winning. Everyone else had him at a 1% chance of winning. So, look, I just think I look at the polling, and I have told people, even when I look at Nate Silver's polling, I always tack on a few points to Trump's numbers. So, if I see, for instance, I see here 49 to 40. Well, what is it? 49 to 45, basically 49, 47. Then I always tack on 2 points to Trump. But let's check out what's been going on here. I like the way he organizes this too, because as you can see, he gives you the change from last week and he gives you the change from last month. I'm not as interested as the change from last month because, of course, last month we had a whole different race. We had uh, a whole different candidate for the Democrats. So, of course, this can be very deceiving. You can look at the change from last month and go, wait a second, Democrats are really killing it here, but they changed their candidate. So, of course, they are. When you go from Joe Biden to almost anybody else, I would think you're going to get a big spike, big bump in the data. So I like to look at the change from last week. There's not much. There's in Virginia, there's 1 point up for Democrats. I happen to believe that there's a lot of false hope right now for Republicans on the Virginia front. I really do not think that's a state that's going to vote for Trump. I know there's been some polling. I mean, there's two major polls that came out back to back, which showed him trailing by 3, which is almost within the margin of error there in a state where Biden won by 10 points. And I think Hillary won it by like close to 10. So people have been saying, wow, if Trump's only down by 3 in Virginia, he's got to be up by like 5 in Georgia. And unfortunately, that's not the way it works. If it is true that Trump is down by 3 in Virginia, then it's possible that he's doing better elsewhere. But I personally do not think that that's what's going on there. I don't think he's down by 3 in Virginia. I think Virginia is probably going to be like a +7 for Harris. That's what I think. And I know I'm being a Debbie Downer, and people are going to say, "No, no, Virginia, we have a chance. Don't crush our dreams." But I'm not here to keep anyone's dream alive. I'm here to tell you what's really going on. If you want to keep your dream alive, there are other places you can go where they tell you everything's going great. But I'm here to tell you what's actually going on. I'm here to find out the truth and the real data. There's a fly that's driving me nuts right now. Um, so yeah, this is the real data. So let's go through it. Pennsylvania, 47-46 for Harris. Michigan, 48, because basically 49, 47.9 is basically 48. 48-44 for Harris. North Carolina, 47-46 for Harris. Wisconsin, 49-45. That's not a good number for Trump. Georgia, 46-47. Arizona, 46-45 for Harris. Nevada, 46-44 for Harris. Florida, 48-44 for Trump. And then 47-42 for Harris and Virginia. So I happen to believe that. Now, I tell you, I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the data, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to critique the data and say, hey, this one's a little bit off. I think Trump is doing, and I always say, and I'm going to repeat this until people get really, really tired of me repeating it. I always say that Trump polls usually 2 points better. That's around where he's at, 2 points better. So, for instance, if we're looking at a like North Carolina, I think Trump's going to win North Carolina. They got him at 46.5. I think he's at like 48, 49. So I do think that he's going to win North Carolina. Trying to get this fly. So I really don't think that number is accurate. But I just think that this gives you a sense of where things are. And then let's scroll down and let's check the major polls for each. So nationally, today and yesterday, we've had some polls released. These polls were conducted. Oh, let me see each one of them. When did the convention end? I think all of these are post convention. So, so we've got Angus Reid 46-41, RMG Research 49-48, Redfield and Wilton 47-44. Outward Intelligence 51-46, Active Vote 53-47. I think the one that best resembles where this race is, it just so happens just to be the one with the most likely voters polled at 2,404. RMG Research 49-48. I think that's where the race is right now. And if that number is true, forget adding on anything for Trump. Forget, giving our own adding our own analysis onto it. If that's where the race is, then Trump is in a very good position. You say, well, how can that be 49-48? If Trump gets 48% of the vote and she gets 49, that usually means that Trump is doing well enough in the electoral college. Keep in mind that Hillary won the popular vote 48-46. So if Trump gets 48% popular vote, he's won the election. If he gets 49 or 50, he is definitely winning this election. But 48 is his mark. If he gets 46% of the vote, it's very difficult for him to win. 47, you can do it with 47, maybe. But keep in mind, he got 47 in 2020. So he did better in the popular vote than he did in 2016. But that's because there were only two candidates. In 2016, there was a third party candidate, Jill Stein, who kind of soaked up some of that Hillary support. I mean, she shaved off just enough in certain areas in certain states, excuse me, for it not to work out for Trump. So that's what you're looking at. Um, and then you go through the swing states. There's only one poll in Arizona. This was not a post convention poll, though, so we need to be careful about that. This is the New York Times poll that has her leading by 4 points in Arizona. I can tell you that's not true. Okay. Rasmussen has Trump leading by 1 in Arizona. Focal data leading by 1.9. Trafalgar Group leading by 1.2. Everyone says the Trafalgar Group is just like really biased poll. I really don't think they are. Like, look at this one, 48-47. That seems like it's right on the money for Arizona. So, I happen to think that's where he is. Florida isn't a state that I think should be really in the major polling anymore. The Democrats, I think, have mostly given up in Florida. There's not much money pouring in there. Georgia, tight race. But again, look at all these polls showing Trump leading. Again, though, I warn you, many of these polls, as you can see, many of them are pre-convention. And I happen to think no matter how much Republicans believe that this was a disaster of a convention, I really don't think it was. And I think there's going to be a little bit of a bump. I mean, which isn't out of the ordinary for a candidate, but there's going to be a bump from the convention for sure. So keep in mind, we're not going to go through each one. Virginia, let's just check out Virginia because we were just talking about Virginia, and these are the two polls: Emerson College and then Florida Atlantic. Again, the Emerson College one, that's July 15th. It was put in the field. That's like right after. Sorry, give me one second here. That was right after the attempt on Trump's life. So right after Butler, let's just call it Butler because I think there's certain words they don't like me using on here. That was right after Butler. So I think any poll that's right in the aftermath of that is going to favor him more, just because there's more sympathy for him. And back then it was Biden in the race; it's a whole different candidate. So you can't really look at those ones. But this is the most recent one, the Roanoke College one, that had a Democrat plus 3. So this is the one everyone's talking about, 46-43. If that's within the margin of error, then I mean, Trump's doing pretty well. And people are confused. They're saying, well, if Trump's down by only 3 in Virginia, how is he down by 1 in Georgia or something like that? Another thing people are not taking into account, and this is very important, a lot of people are kind of stuck in the 2012, even 2016 dynamic when it comes to these states. These states have changed a lot. Even since COVID, they've changed quite a bit. And Georgia and Arizona are the two best examples of that. Florida is an outlier in that Florida's population has gone way up and it's gotten more Republican. And that may have something to do with DeSantis and COVID and whatnot. But Georgia and Arizona are examples of what's going on with states that are getting more population and they're turning more leftist because of who's coming there and the types of people, the race, the background. Georgia is just not the state that it used to be even 4 years ago. Never mind 10 years ago. How about 4 years ago? So that's why a lot of people get confused. They say, wait a second, Georgia is a state where Republicans should be leading by like 5, 6, 7 points. And if Trump's down by 1 in Georgia, but down by 3 in Virginia, that doesn't make sense. Well, honestly, and I agree, it's lopsided, but it makes more sense than you think it does. Because yes, Virginia has changed, but Virginia's real change happened like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and that's why you saw it shift from George W. Bush 2 times to Obama twice, Hillary, and then Biden. But Georgia has just more recently been changing. So, we are in an environment where Georgia and Virginia are almost on an equal plane. I mean, Georgia is still more Republican than Virginia is for sure, but that's sort of just we have to be careful. This is not 2012 anymore. A lot of these states have become more democratic. Okay. So that's the Silver Bulletin. Let's go back once again, people who missed it. This is where we are in the polling market odds, 50-49, tight race. The betting odds. And then we have like individual states. They have it as 74% chance that Harris is going to win the popular vote. It's probably pretty accurate. I think she will probably win the popular vote. I wanted to go to this. I just saw this literally right before I came on the air. BCA, which is a research firm, has given Trump a 55% chance of winning the election. I wanted to read this one. I don't know anything about BCA, so I cannot vouch for the accuracy of this. I cannot tell you, oh, this is good news or whatever. But I just wanted to read it because it's kind of like they've gone out on a limb and said, yeah, he's going to win. So BCA research has assigned a 55% probability that Donald Trump will win the U.S. presidency. in the upcoming November election, marking a contrarian stance compared to other forecasts. The outlook is rooted in BCA's analysis of the current political and economic landscape, where they believe that Trump's potential victory could lead to a full Republican sweep of both the White House and Congress. This scenario, though contested, remains BCA's most likely outcome. The 55% probability marks a slight downgrade from an earlier 60% estimate, yet Trump remains the favored candidate in this closely contested race, according to the investment research firm. Vice President Kamala Harris, who has recently taken over as a Democratic nominee, also presents a strong challenge, buoyed by her status as part of the incumbent party. However, BCA points out that Harris is statistically tied with Trump in key swing states, and factors such as rising unemployment and weaker polling demographics may hinder her chances. The loss of an incumbent president advantage with Biden dropping out, the uptick in unemployment in contested states, and the lackluster polling among key demographics lead us to maintain our view of a Trump victory in the White House, though we downgrade his odds to 55% from 60%, BCA strategists note. The firm also breaks down the likelihood of various election outcomes. Within the 55% chance of a Trump victory, they assign a 50% probability to a full Republican sweep, control of the White House, Senate, and House of Representatives, and a 5% chance of Trump winning the presidency with a mixed Congress. In contrast, if Harris were to win, BCA sees a 45% probability with a higher likelihood of a Republican or mixed Congress rather than a Democratic sweep. So they're predicting that no matter what happens at the presidential level, it's probably going to be a Republican victory in the House and the Senate. Should Trump win, strategists anticipate notable economic and sectoral impacts. Trump's policies, characterized by fiscal stimulus and deregulation, are expected to be inflationary, leading to higher budget deficits and long-term inflation. I don't know about that. Sectors that would benefit under a Trump administration include energy, financials, industrials, materials, and real estate, all of which are tied to his proposed policies, such as increasing domestic energy production and infrastructure investments. On the other hand, defensive sectors like healthcare and utilities are highlighted by BCA as prudent choices for investors, given the expected near term economic slowdown and market volatility leading up to and following the election. BCA stresses that regardless of the election outcome, these sectors offer downside protection and are likely to outperform in the current uncertain environment. It also highlights that equity returns are typically softer after a change in incumbency as markets adjust to new policies and leadership. Historically, sectors that outperformed under the previous administration often underperform when a new party takes office, while lagging sectors may see a rebound. So I just thought it would be interesting to read that. It was weird to see. This story is on investing.com, and they're one of the few firms that have really gone out on a limb and said they think that he's going to win. So there you have it. And honestly, that's all I really wanted to get to tonight. We can scour X to see what's going on. If there's anything else that I'm reminded of, this is the anniversary, yes, of the Afghanistan withdrawal, which was a complete disaster, as you know. Um, Also, since we've done our last live stream, now we have RFK, who has endorsed Trump. I thought the rollout for the RFK thing was really good. Let me just switch this down. Maybe I'll talk a little about that, and then we'll call it a day. I don't want to go much over an hour. I thought the rollout was really good. I thought he did a good job with that. It was presented very well. The question is, what advantage does this give him, and how does he play it? All this talk about all the RFK going to Trump. How many of them are there actually? I don't know how many there are. I don't know how much of an impact it is. But what I will say is these elections oftentimes are determined by the news cycle and how things are going. Are you getting more endorsements, or are people denouncing you? And 2016 was kind of an anomaly in that there were so many people denouncing Trump, but he still won. It was like every time someone denounced him, it kind of fed into the idea that he was an outsider challenging the establishment. But I just think when you have people endorsing you, particularly when they're Democrats, now obviously they're like kind of a certain kind of Democrat. You're not your standard fare Democrat. I will say that. So you have kind of these quirky Democrats, these idiosyncratic Democrats like RFK Jr. and now today Tulsi Gabbard. I think it's I think it's valuable, honestly, and I think the way he appeared when he was at the rally was very good. I think there it was really good optics. I think he reinforces the idea that Trump is a challenge to the incumbency or to the yeah to the establishment and to the incumbency. And then you have Tulsi Gabbard, and it's always good to have women endorsing Trump because that is sort of his weakness. But the biggest thing and the biggest um, story, I think, is that Trump seems to be getting back to his old self. I have been talking about this on many streams, and I have talked about it in many videos, and I've talked about it with many people. Quite frankly, I was on with Mark Halperin on his podcast, on the Two Way podcast, and I told him, look, Trump is going to win this election the same way he won 2016 by winning those Rust Belt states. Now, is he going to win all of them? I don't know. Typically, the three of them vote in sync with each other. They have since '04. So, how did he win those states? Well, he won those states on a populist message, on a message of trade, immigration, and no foreign wars. And you run on that message again, and you will win. If he runs on that same message. Now, it's more difficult to run on the message because he already did USMCA. He probably kind of thinks he already dealt with that issue. But go ahead and just run on it. Run on the populist issues. I mean, it's today I saw a report that said he was going to if elected, he would divert funds for migrant centers to homeless veterans. I mean, that's the type of stuff he was saying in 2016. And really, this may sound kind of crazy, but it really doesn't matter like the constitutionality of it or how it's going to get done. Leave that to people to talk about once you're in, like how you're going to execute it. Right now, you just need to be on the offense. And I have found that since Friday, he's been on offense. He was on offense on Friday with the RFK endorsement, and he ended Friday on a high note. And that was the story all through the weekend. And then today he came out with that. He went to the Afghanistan memorial, which obviously isn't something political you do. You just do it because it's the right thing to do. And then he got the Tulsi endorsement. So he's had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday of good days for the campaign. And moreover, most of the time at the end of the convention for the Democrat Party or whatever party, they're on like a sugar high. They usually ride that wave for a week or two after. But that doesn't seem to be what's happening right now with Kamala. So I think he's done a good job the last 4 days. I think clearly Corey Lewandowski is getting to him and talking to him more since he's been an addition to the campaign. He's probably spent a little bit of time getting back readjusted. But I have to be honest with you. If I'm looking at it from an impartial or partial perspective, Susie Wiles and Chris LaCivita have not been good for this campaign. They have not been good. I mean, it's a chaotic campaign. I know he always runs a chaotic campaign, but there has not been a message. In 2016, it was chaotic, but there was a real message, and Ben was the one who helped him hammer it home. And he's just been kind of flailing around out there and with no direct message. He's not controversial. And you might think, oh, well, not being controversial is a good thing, but it's not always a good thing. When you're controversial, you're in the news, you're on offense. That's what I must stress. He's on offense now. He's proposing things, he's setting the agenda, he's saying things, and they should be answering to it, not the other way around. So, for example, last week or week before, when Kamala was out there saying she's going to set price controls. Well, it doesn't matter if price controls work or not. They don't. We know they don't. But the fact is, she was on offense. She was coming up with ideas. She was coming up with policies. And Trump and the right and Republicans were being forced to defend against it. And you want to be on the offense. You want to be in control of the game, not letting the game control you. And so I feel like he has been in more control the past 3 or 4 days. We'll see if that continues. I don't know if it will. We'll see if it does. And that's going to be the excitement of the next little while. So, thank you to everyone who's watching, and thank you to everyone who is subscribed. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel, Florida Millennial, on YouTube. If you're watching on X, please go to YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel and follow me on X, Florida Millennial. I will be here every day in some form up until the election. And I want to stress, I am not going to just give you good news. I know you want to hear good news, like you want to go and hear, oh, like Trump is up here. It's like I'm not here just to tell you everything's fine. If things are going well, I'm going to tell you they're going well, like I just did. But if things are not going well, I have to be able to tell you, yeah, he's not living up to it here. Or if there's bad polling, I'm going to tell you the bad polling. I'm not going to just say that's a ridiculous poll. Now, obviously, there are polls out there that are ridiculous, and I'll never forget the one from 2020. I don't know which pollster it was. I think it was one of the networks. It was like CBS or something. And they had Trump down by 16 points in Wisconsin. He lost Wisconsin by 1 point. So to have a poll that is off by 15 points, you should just be fired. Like you should never run a poll ever again if that's how much you were off by. So yeah, if there are polls like that, I'll call it out and say it's ridiculous. But for the most part, like if there's a poll in Arizona that shows Trump down by 2, I'm not going to say that's ridiculous because he might very well be down by 2 there. We have to get real. We have to live in reality. We cannot live in dream world here. I mean, this is a campaign, and if the other side is outworking you or out strategizing you, we have to be able to admit that. And I'm not saying that's necessarily what's going on right now, but what I am saying is if it happens, I am going to tell the truth about it. So look, where does the race stand right now? Someone asked. Well, look, I know it's what everybody is saying, but I truly think it is a toss up. I think right now, if the election were held right now, I'd give a slight edge to Kamala, a slight edge, but there's plenty of time left, and there's plenty of time for Trump to really win. Like he has to come out at this debate and be himself, and she has to be nothing special, basically. And I think what we're gonna find is the debate's supposed to be on the 10th, I believe. And my prediction is we're going to come out of the 10th into the 11th, 12th, 13th, the days after with Trump kind of maybe with a small lead or it being tied, one or the other. That's how I think it's going to go. And I heard right now they're trying to decide if they're going to be sitting down or standing up, which is kind of ridiculous, but we'll see. I think Trump is better standing. Biden wanted to sit down too. I don't know what's up with that. I think there's 2 reasons for that. I think the first reason is Kamala has the only time she's ever really debated at the presidential level, the only time Kamala's debated at that level is when she debated against Pence, and they were sitting down. I think she I'm trying to think back, but I think she had a pretty decent debate. So, I think she probably wants to be sitting down just because she feels more comfortable doing it that way and because she performed well that way. Um, the other reason I think Biden wanted to sit down just 'cause he gets tired, but I think the other reason they want it to be sitting down is because Trump, when he's sitting down, he kinda looks, he's, like, crouched over, and he doesn't really look as in command and is presidential as he looks when he's standing. And Trump is also taller. I think there was that kind of dynamic when they were debating, Hillary, like, Trump was taller, and he had more of a presence, and Hillary was, like, small and short, so I don't think they like that look. So that's I think why they're doing it that way. Now, they're also wanting the mics to be muted when the other candidate is speaking. I personally I think that's an advantage for Trump, and I know he doesn't like that, but I think if the mics are muted, that stops Trump from making unforced errors and interrupting her. And I know it's fun watching him like that first Biden debate where he just like went at him and was so aggressive. But I think it's actually better if Trump is like more disciplined and it's like an imposed discipline almost. So I think it's probably better that the mics are muted. But I don't know if they've come up with set ground rules for that yet. So we'll see. So thank you for everyone who's watching. Everyone who's watching on YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, please hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. I have to update that photo of me though. That is a photo of me from a wedding a long time ago. I'm going to update that. Like the video, please, if you can. Comment. Let me know what you think, good or bad, whatever you want. I'm going to be here Monday through Friday, and I'm going to try and be here hopefully around 9:30. That's kind of my goal every night. I'm not going to hit it every night, but that's the goal. I also need to come up with a name for the actual stream, like a name for the show. So I have to think about. But since it's election time, I'm going to try to be here like pretty much every night. I have, I believe I have an interview lined up with David Chapman on who I follow on X, and he's really into polling in the race, election race, and he he'll have a lot to share and a lot of insight. So I'm hoping to have him on, I believe, on Wednesday. I think it'll be Wednesday, and so that should be fun. If you don't know Dave Chapman, you can go and look him up. He debated Red Eagle politics, and I covered that a long time ago on a different channel. But so that should be fun. So thank you everybody for watching. I'll be back hopefully tomorrow night around the same time. Like, subscribe, comment. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you all tomorrow night. God bless.